Hello everyone, this is Club 10M Plus's exciting new podcast that's here for you. We are all about stories, new developments and learning about individuals. Our hope is that you will join us every week to hear about our distinguished guests. We hope to inspire you, bring you laughter and make you reflect. Our guests come from all walks of life and primarily they want to share their stories. Not sure about you, but I love a good story. So Club 10M Plus have devoted their time to creating these podcasts, to sharing great ideas and stories and much more. So tune in every week to make sure that you don't miss out. It could be you next week. Want to know more? We want to hear your stories. So sign up and be our next guest. Hey, and welcome, Mithra. And I know it's really late for you at night, so I'm going to try and help you out here. But as a woman and an entrepreneur and believes in entrepreneurship, you just breeze those time zones. It's not an issue. So I'm really welcome, first of all, to Pitch the Panther. And also, I'm dying to hear your story. So I'm handing over to you so you can tell us a little bit more.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me here, Krista. So a little bit about, my background or journey. So I was born and raised in the U.S. I'm currently in India, hence it's my late night. And my journey, I would say, started when I was about 8 years old. And, when we were little kids, we played like teacher, mom and dad, that sort of thing. So it kind of started there. Teacher was something I really enjoyed. So anyone who came home, I'd be like, sit down and teach you the ABCs. I didn't really care if they already knew it. So from there, my passion for education kind of grew. And after that, I started doing like teaching just for fun, like tutoring other students, peer-to-peer tutoring. And when I was 13, I was actually invited by several different schools across India to come and do different seminars in terms of like leadership skills or other real world skills. So my interest further grew in education, which eventually led to my first business, startup rather, in online education. So I started that out when I was about 17 years old, finishing up high school, and then kind of went from there. Currently, right now, I run 3 businesses, 2 of them which I run with my husband, in entrepreneurial incubation and coaching, as well as in health consultation. Really just going for a well-rounded perspective. How can we help people? So my goal in life, the reason I ever really entered the entrepreneurial space, is to help others. So my goal was to, create a positive global impact. So I felt that education was the best way that I could do it, because if you're educating somebody, you're teaching them how they can take care of themselves. So not really just focusing on academics, that's a good start, but really helping people understand how they can enhance their existing skills, whatever that may be, their own talents and skills, to capitalize and make the most of their life. So they don't have to rely on every other person around them to find a way to financially support themselves. That's what I did. I actually left home when I was 18, and I continued running my business to support myself through college and things like that. So just being able to teach something similar in addition to academia was kind of the goal when I started out my business. So flash forward, I guess 7-8 years later, and here we are now. And I just recently moved to India to just be around family, but also continue growing our businesses with my husband and doing that full time. So we're full-time entrepreneurs, full-time parents, just continuing the dream of entrepreneurship.
But also living the dream and the lifestyle that you've set up for yourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also very key about entrepreneurship. It's not just, I'm doing this because it's something I am passionate about. It's living that entire dream. So I'm passionate about doing this, but I can also have a life. And more importantly, I'm making a life for myself. So I think there's like 3 components. So when I think of entrepreneurship, you are so young, you are so focused, you have got what it takes to take you to the next level. Wind the clock forward. How far are we ahead of where you want to be? I mean, are you going to realize your goal in a year, in the next 5 years? Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I guess maybe it's a little unique to me that I've always been fairly very clear about what I want in life and what I want to do with it. So I think by the time I was 13, I was like, okay, I have a pretty good idea of what I want to be doing in life, and that was to be a full-time entrepreneur. I also knew that one day I'd want to be a mom and being able to do that full time. And so those two kind of go hand in hand, really being present for my family and being able to experience the personal side of the benefits of entrepreneurship, being able to travel the world with family and that kind of stuff as well. So that's what I had in terms of like setting goals in the past, and those goals continue now. So our goal is to, and I say ours because I run businesses with my husband together, so we do that in partnership. The goal is to be able to establish more businesses in different industries with time. Again, really focusing on how can we help people. So right now we're doing it through education, doing it through health, and then of course we want to give back to our own entrepreneurial community. So helping others, achieve the same goals in terms of entrepreneurship, but really helping people understand that passion is great, ideas are great, but you don't need them to become an entrepreneur nor to be successful in the entrepreneurial world. It's just you put your mind to it and you're around the right people, you learn from the right people, you can make that happen. So helping more people become entrepreneurs and become successful and supporting them in that journey is something definitely of the upcoming forward goals. I think that's the biggest one in terms of entrepreneurship and just exploring other industries with time to continue adding value to the world in a positive way.
Which is an amazing goal in itself. I mean, absolutely. Now more than ever before, we need to be impactful. We need to be sustainable. We need to have those global goals where everyone's working together to sustain life.
Right.
We've experienced the last 2 years. Nobody needs to go back there. I think something in all of us just kind of took a nosedive. But you know what? Because we are human, because we're able to love, because we're able to give, we can pick ourselves up and continue.
Right.
And I think that's one of the most amazing qualities that you could ever have. And for you, listening to you saying how you've set goals out continuously is kind of where I think there's a lot of work to be done. With some people, their goals never transfer into reality because they just set them and decide not to work on them, and that it will work because they've set these goals out and forget that they still got to continue working through and continue even after the goals have been reached.
Yep.
To get to where they want to go. And what would you say to your younger self now, looking back? What would you change about what you did?
Yeah, very good question. And I think this kind of also goes out to all the people who might have been in my shoes or in my shoes back then. One big thing I learned along the way is to really have a big vision and then have smaller goals that lead up to that vision. It's sort of just like how we plan a trip, right? Like I currently moved to India, so I had to figure out my destination first. Like I'm going to go to India, and here are all the steps that lead up to it. I had to take a couple of flights and a train and all that fun stuff. But now, had I said like, okay, I'm gonna go by car, there's no way I could have got to India. So same application for life. Figure out where you want to be and why, more rather like why you want to do it, and then figure out how you're going to do it to get to where you want to be, and then set up those small little goals. So that's what I've done throughout life. That's what I learned. So that would be the advice I'd go back and give my younger self is, think of the big picture first and then piece together the puzzle. Because I think in life and society, just in general, we always talk about like go to school, get a job, and it just eventually you'll get where you're supposed to be. We don't really think about what that is. So I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give myself, because that applies to entrepreneurship, that applies to any area of life really. So I think that's what I would say there.
Thank you. I mean, what was really powerful there was piecing the pieces together. So life is a puzzle. You only ever hold one piece at a time. And it's where you put that
Yeah,
down that makes the difference. And you're absolutely right. So much there was
absolutely.
like lots of food for thought. And the entrepreneurial journey is never an easy one. And I think sometimes we go through different hardships and we don't actually understand why. But planning and avoiding a lot of things will actually negate some of that. So for me, I kind of share that. I was in a 9 to 5, but going from a 9 to 5 to being an entrepreneur, there is absolutely no way I could go back. but you know in
Yep.
your heart what your desire is, and you know what you want and how you do it. And I grew up where you went to school and got a job, so there was no entrepreneurship. It didn't exist in my time. But watching you now as a youngster, it's like, oh wow, I love it. And I love what you guys are aspiring to do. And I want to touch base with you again in 6 months. Let's see how this journey progressed in
Yeah,
India, and where I'll find you next. Who knows, somewhere in the world. But listen, it's been an
absolutely.
absolute pleasure, and thank you again. Just in spite of everything, we show up, and I love that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Club 10M Plus's exciting new podcast that's here for you. We are all about stories, new developments, and learning about individuals. Our hope is that you will join us every week to hear about our distinguished guests. We hope to inspire you, bring you laughter, and make you reflect. Our guests come from all walks of life, and primarily they want to share their stories. Not sure about you, but I love a good story. So Club 10M Plus have devoted their time to creating these podcasts, to sharing great ideas and stories, and much more. So tune in every week to make sure that you don't miss out. It could be you next week. Want to know more? We want to hear your stories, so sign up and be our next guest.